Dean, if animals could talk, which one would be the most interesting to have a conversation with?
Wow. I would love to talk. You know, we had the privilege of going on an African safari 20 years ago, and we got to see all those super cool animals that God made. And one of the ones that fascinated me the most was the cheetah.
The cheetah.
And we saw a group of them. There were 3 of them just laying in the grass. And we had a photographer with us that got an epic shot of, they were just head. You can see all 3 of them. And they're looking right at us, just chilling in the grass, not running 80 miles an hour like they can.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
But I wanted to talk to them about, so how do you go from 0 to 80 in like 3 seconds?
Yeah.
So they fascinated me. I just think they were
very interesting.
They were cool. I'd like to talk to a cheetah.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I always, I often say dog because I got 2 dogs.
Yeah, well,
but somebody
they do talk.
They do, yeah,
that's no big deal.
True, yeah. Somebody that we had as a guest a few months ago said squirrels, and I was like, wow.
Squirrel.
But they're everywhere, man. Like they're sitting behind our conversation, and they see us here, they see us there. I'm like, wow. But they'd have all kinds of interesting. Okay, cool. One more.
That was critical. Thank you for starting there.
Important stuff, man. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Absolutely.
It is?
Absolutely.
Why?
It's in between 2 pieces of bread, called a bun. However, it's bread. Bread with meat in the middle is a sandwich.
I got you. So if we're at a restaurant, and you ordered a hot dog with a bun, how would you order that?
I'm just, I'm ketchup and mustard, maybe a little relish.
But would you say
pretty plain Jane?
But would you say, can I please have the hot dog? Yeah, right.
Sure. I'd order a hot dog. Yeah.
But if you ordered a hot dog without a bun, how would you place that order?
I'd say, bring me the dog without the bun. Yeah,
but it's a sandwich.
Bring me the dog without the bun. I think so. Now, this was a critical conversation at the Little League World Series recently, which the guys in the booth have been a running dialogue for the last several years.
Really?
I'm a huge fan of the Little League World Series, by the way. One of my favorite sporting
events. And they were talking about this question?
Oh, they do it all the time. Yeah, almost every year they do it because somebody brings them a hot dog in the booth.
Yeah.
Invariably. Hey, and they talk about, hey, look, because they have a different analogy. Like this year was Todd Frazier. And say, oh, Todd, hey, tell me this. Is a hot dog a sandwich? Yeah. So they just did this.
I think that it's not, but every person I ask says yes.
Oh, it was no more than 50-50.
Yeah?
Because they interviewed parents in the stands. Yeah. They did the whole 9 with they carried this throughout like several innings.
That's interesting.
And it was about 50-50. Yeah. You're not the only one. You're not the only one out there on the
I know. It's a mystery.
No sandwich train.
On the no sandwich train.
Yeah.
Dean,
it's good to know that about you, though, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. These are things that are important to me. Another is pineapple an acceptable topping on pizza?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. With ham. Ham and pineapple. Not just pineapple by itself, but ham and pineapple.
Whew.
Solid.
Can't do it. Can't do it.
Love to do it. Love ham.
All right. Well, one day in the future, we're going to get pizza with pineapple on it, and I will try it with you.
Where are you going to go? Where in town would you go for pizza?
Oh, man.
See, that's a critical question.
Yeah. There's a place downtown. What's the name of that place? Is it Lucille? You know what? No, I'll take that back. Valentino.
Oh, Valentino makes solid choice. Pie. Solid choice. I'm also into Origin lately. They have several locations now. Solid. Their wings are the best. They're actually drums, and they actually have meat on them.
Yeah.
Like you can actually get a meal out of 10.
Yeah.
But I digress. Pineapple on pizza at Origin.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
We'll do it. Okay, so Good News Pest Control. Tell me about
solutions.
Good News Pest Solutions.
Yeah, we don't control insects.
Oh, that's true.
We just solve the problem that they present.
I like that.
So we're presenting solutions because you really can't control those things.
They're going to be here.
I mean, they're more of them than us.
Yeah,
man.
that's right.
I mean,
that's right.
We interesting story for 50 plus years, our national and state association was called the National Pest Control Association, NPCA, Florida Pest Control Association.
Okay.
Years ago, they said, listen, we don't really control pests. We manage them.
Right.
It's like a manager. We manage them. We say, hey, you quit going over there, go over here.
Go over here instead.
So now it's the National Pest Management Association and the Florida Pest Management Association.
Really?
So we don't control things. We manage and or solve problems. So we're Good News Pest Solutions.
I love that.
Critical difference.
Very huge difference. Yeah, for sure. What year did you get started?
The company was started in 1989
Okay.
by a gentleman named John Macy.
John Macy.
John had worked for a local father and son outfit for 14 years.
Okay.
And decided that he just needed to do this on his own, man. The entrepreneurial bug just bit him hard, and he was doing great. Most people thought he owned that company because he was the face of the company. He was their top sales guy. He was making it happen.
Okay.
Mover and shaker. John's amazing guy, most amazing networker.
He's still with us?
He's alive, but he's in Indiana.
Okay.
Yes. So he figured out he needed to do this on his own. And with the blessing of that father and son team, said, hey,
that's really
go for
cool.
it. Yeah, they had a great relationship. He started out down in Northport, and the other company was in Sarasota. So it was kind of like, hey, as long as you kind of stay down there, we'll be good, right? Of course, it wasn't long until he was up here too.
Right.
But 7 years into that, he invited me to come and join him as a partner.
Okay.
He basically was carrying too many balls, spinning too many plates, too many hats, and needed some help. As a matter of fact, the father and son team hired me 6 months after John left to start his own company, and I worked with the family business. And then they connected me with John later because they sold the company.
Okay.
And then said, hey, you know what? You and John, we raised you both from a pup.
Yeah.
And he was 20 years my senior.
Okay.
And when he reached back to the former owner and said, hey, I don't know what to do. This train's running fast and hard, and what do I do? He said, I don't know how to slow it down. You can't stop it.
Right.
He said, you need a partner, and you need a younger guy that's got more horsepower than you that can keep it going. And he says, yeah, I know, but I started this from a pup. I raised this. This is my child.
It's your baby.
I don't know anybody else that I trust well enough to bring in to do that. He said, I do. Dean Burnside.
What?
He said, well, I know Dean.
Recommendation.
Yeah. So he hooked us up, and John invited me to come in as a partner, and we had a 5-year plan.
And what year was this?
1989. It was 96 when I started.
Okay.
January 96. So the company was 7 years old.
Okay.
And we had a goal. He had done about $200,000 in a revenue year before I came. And by the collaboration of our forces, we thought we could get it to $1 million. Our goal was, let's see if we can make this $1 million company. Yeah. And that's kind of a bar in the pest control industry. If you can be at $1 million in revenue, you've done something. You're a legit company.
Established there.
So we set a goal to do that in 5 years. Like, let's see if we can. You did the hard work, John. Starting from your neighbor. Hey, I'm doing pest control. Can I do yours?
Right.
The first
the grind.
couple hundred customers are the hardest to get. Right. So he had done all the really, really tough legwork. I'd say the heavy lifting, and I just came in and said, okay, you've got this platform that's already built. Let's launch from there. Yeah. And so we doubled it the first year.
Nice.
And then we did 400, then we did 600, and we're tracking on the path. And all of a sudden, I had an epiphany, Chris. I said, the first half that I bought was valued at this, and I'm building that second half someday that I'm going to pay him for at a pretty accelerated rate. I'm building his retirement.
Oh, yeah.
So a business and spiritual mentor of mine came around me and said, Dean, you need to set a value on what you're going to pay for the other half now.
Today.
Yeah. Not based on, hey, what do we get to? And then I'll give you half of that.
Right.
Just, So it was kind of a hard meeting. And we sat down with John, and about 2.5 years into this 5-year plan. And I said, hey, man, I'd like to set a value now of what we're going to pay for the second half. He said, you know what? God's been calling me to do some other things, and I've done this for a long time. You write me a check, and I'll get out of your way. I see where this train's going, just like that. Of course, I didn't have a check to write.
Right then, yeah.
But I said, well, let's talk about how we could arrange that. So I ended up buying him out in October of 98.
Nice.
So about 2 years and 10 months into our 5-year plan, it became mine.
Now it's yours.
And he retired.
Wow.
So from that point on now, we've got 50 employees and we're pushing 7 million this year.
I love it.
So over a 25-year run, God's just been amazing to bless our efforts. And,
amen.
At that time, actually, my mentor / dad friend said, Dean, now that you own the business, it can be a platform for ministry.
Yeah.
And I said, platform for ministry. Well, I know exactly what that is in a church context.
Sure.
I grew up in a family of worship leaders. So my grandfather was the guy up front on the platform at church leading the worship, singing part of the worship service, right? After he got out of it, my dad did it. And my mom played the piano and organ. And so I've seen my family on the platform doing ministry all my life. And then as my brother and I grew up, we both have done that in churches as well.
Yeah. So you understood that side of it.
Platform for ministry. I get it. At church.
At church.
What's that look like in business?
Yeah.
And he said, well, kid, follow me and I'll show you how. So he invited me to what's called the Christian 12 group, C12.
C12,
group. It's now an international organization with over 4,000 people. At the time, there were literally 3 groups in Sarasota and Bradenton, Florida. And I was in one of the original groups. I've been in C12 almost 26 years.
Really?
So October 98, when I bought John Macy out, Martin invited me to C12, and I've been there ever since, learning how to run the business as a platform for ministry.
Love it.
And God said to me, Dean, if you'll honor me in the way you run the business, I'll honor you.
Yeah.
And he's
faithful.
Blowing our socks off with that. Yeah.
Which C12 do you belong to?
Doug Pohl is our facilitator now, but originally Buck Jacobs is the gentleman who started C12 back 30 plus years ago. Yeah. And so Buck was at the head of the table the first 6 or 7 years I was in the group.
Okay.
And then he moved on, and a gentleman named Don Light took over the group, Don Sr. Was in his group for many years. And then Don Jr. ended up getting involved, and I was in his group for several years. Then we started spreading out, and so I was asked to help start other groups. Yeah. So now Doug Pohl is the facilitator, chairman of our groups.
I know Doug. Do you know Doug?
Yeah, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he is a great guy. I also have now, since the spread of C12, it's a CEO roundtable.
Yes.
You're around the table literally with 12 business leaders, male and female. Only one business represented around each table, no 2 overlap in the same round table. So it becomes a council of advisors, board of directors, if you will.
Yeah.
And we look at material that's basically MBA level business material, because if you're going to have a solid platform to minister from, you can't have the right side of it falling over. The platform has to be sound.
That's right.
So let's talk about best practice business principles.
Yeah. And
then how do we do that and run it as a ministry and build God's kingdom through the business? Chris, arguably, it was my story. I was leading worship at the church we were attending at the time. Okay. And when John invited me to be a partner, I was filling in. We were looking for a full-time guy, and they said, hey, Dean, could you fill in? Sure. Well, filling in became 2 years.
I knew that's what
it was going to be 3 months or whatever, until we find a guy. It was 2 years. And I was enjoying that, and people were telling me, hey, man, why are we looking for somebody else? We love the way you lead worship. You're doing a great job. So I literally went on a retreat over the weekend and just got alone with God in the woods and said, what's my highest and best purpose for being on the planet?
Highest and best use, right?
Am I supposed to lead worship at the church as a vocation and get a paycheck from the church? Or I have this opportunity to lead this pest control company, which is my highest and best use? And as clear as you're hearing my voice right now, I mean, as clear as you're hearing my voice, he said, Dean, by name, you will reach more people through your business than you ever will singing in a microphone on a platform.
That's right.
Just like that. Okay. That's as clear direction as I could ever get from the Lord. I mean, just this, not that. Yeah. Guess what? I made the commitment to Johnson. I'm all in. I'm gonna keep doing this. A month later, we found the guy who's still the worship leader there 26 years later.
Really?
I was in the way, apparently. I thought I was helping, but I was probably in the way somehow. As soon as I got God's direction and said, yes, sir. They found the guy, and he's been there ever since.
They did.
You know, so it's a great story.
Yeah.
That's a formula for success. You could apply that to virtually anything.
And it doesn't have to be something unique. Just
correct.
Something that people don't want to do.
And you do it really well.
Yeah.
You know, there are franchises right now for picking up dog do. You know, I mean, still blows my mind that there's enough opportunity to make a franchise business out of that.
And it's
but that's something people don't want to do.
Dogs
right?
are going to keep.
So they're going to pay somebody to do it, I guess. Anyway, so my mother being a prominent realtor gave me a platform to build that part of the business with other realtors. And so I was very good at that. I could make new customers well.
Right.
And then it was mine. Tell you who was the most scared about that was my wife.
Okay.
Not me. I wasn't really scared of it, but she's like, you don't know how to run a business.
How long you been married at the time?
Oh, wow. In 1998, it would have been 38 years.
Okay.
No, 28. I'm sorry, 28 years. We're married in 82. Wow, my math's not good. 26 years. Anyway, 16 years?
16.
Where am I?
16.
Cut the tape. Oh,
run that back.
Anyway,
years.
Yeah. Wow, not that long. Long enough for her to know I didn't know how to run a business.
Long enough, yeah. Yeah.
She knew I could sell, but she didn't, she's like, what? How are you going to run a business?
Right.
Well, and that's what C12 really provided for me. When Martin invited me, he said, we'll show you the business principles and we'll show you the ministry part of it. Yeah. And he came alongside with me. It was amazing, Chris. He literally said, and he's, again, 30 years my senior, savvy businessman, solid in his faith, serving the Lord, ran a Christian ministry that he founded besides his family business they ran. And he just said, tell you what, I'll meet with you as often as you want with no agenda. You bring to me whatever you want to learn. We'll talk about it and we'll see how this goes. He just was an open book to me. He just said, I will take you under my wing and teach you whatever you think you don't know.
Right.
So I meet with him the very first time. And he says, so how many ways does money come into the business? What revenue streams do you have? So, well, we have pest control. We have termite control. Termites, there's two kinds. So there's drywood and subterranean. And then each of those have an ongoing warranty that you can renew. So they have recurring renewal revenue. So 5 different ways that money comes in the door. So which of those is the most profitable?
Probably the warranty.
Is that something I should know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was my response. Like, right. I don't have a clue.
You didn't know what you did.
I've never even thought to ask.
Yeah.
Is that important? Should I? Would that?
A little bit.
I love to. Would that be good to know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I was that naive at running the business. Literally.
Yeah.
And he says, well, that's a good place to start. Do you have reporting that tells you the revenue?
Right.
In those 5 different categories?
The data will tell you.
We do. We have that. And do you have a cost element to measure like what it costs to do those? Yeah, I get a P&L that gives me that. Okay. Do you know how to do the math? Yeah. I mean, it was that's elemental, man. I felt like a kid in first grade.
But you don't know what you don't know.
And he said, do you know? I said, that I can do. I can do. Unlike the answer I just gave you about how many years I've been married in 1998.
That math I can do. Yeah.
I can do that math. So he said, well, why don't you figure that out? And next week when we meet, tell me about that. So, man, you know what? It's pest control. Like, okay, good to know.
Is that what it was? It was pest control?
Yeah, it was pest control. Of those 5, the cost basis was less than the others. And boom. It's like, okay. I'm like, okay.
So now what?
Now what?
Now that I know that.
Now that I know that.
Yeah.
Like, do I try to do more of that because it's the most profitable, or do I try to work on the others that aren't as profitable to make them more profitable?
Right.
I mean, where do we go from here?
Right. Short game or long game?
Let's talk about that. And he just gave me homework. every week. I met with him every week for, man, at least 6 months. And I would just bring something to the table and he'd say, okay, here's what I recommend you do with that. And I never asked, why would I do that? Or, why'd you do it that way?
He's the expert.
He said to do it and I did it.
There was a reason for it. Yeah.
I just said, okay, I'll try that. Even dealing with employees. I got this employee and this thing happened and, I don't know how to handle it. Well, why don't you try this and tell me how it goes next week? And I met with that employee and I did that and it went great.
It worked.
It was great.
It's so important to have like the right mentor.
Oh man.
Right.
The other was another friend of mine in C12 at the time, Billy Swanson, that owns Tri County Air Conditioning in the area, and we share a building, so we're roof mates.
Okay. I see.
And best of friends, and the businesses are so similar. You could overlay the service part of what an HVAC company does and what a pest control company does, and they're exactly the same. Sure. We have a fleet of trucks. We schedule regular services on regular intervals.
Warranty.
We have warranties, but the service side of their business, you could just lay right over top.
Yeah.
And he's been in business a lot longer and was probably 5 years ahead of us in terms of number of employees, number of customers, et cetera. So I just but he was another guy that just, interesting story. A business consultant calls me, one of these high powered, people says, hey man, we can come in, we can analyze your business. We'll take a whole day, look at everything, find where the holes are, show you where you're leaking and come up with a plan to help you run your business better. Man, that sounds good to me. I'm still, new at the business side of this.
Right.
So this gal comes in, spends the day with me. And the next morning she hammered me, the hardest closer I've ever had to encounter. I mean, and she wanted $50,000. She said, we'll come in and we'll help you, blah, 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 blah. It'll cost you $50,000. Well, at the time, that was more than I paid any single employee that I had.
Might have been $1 million. Might as well have been $1 million.
It was like, I'm hiring an employee, the highest paid employee. It was like, I don't know if I was taking $50,000 out of business. Right. At the time, honestly, it was like $50,000. So guess what? I fended her off. I literally had to ask her to leave my office because I said, I meet with a council of advisors that I trust and they know me. And I'm meeting with them in 2 days. It's not like a month from now. In 2 days, I'm meeting with this group and I'm going to present this to the group. And if this is a good thing for me, I'll let you know and we'll do it. If not, I'll let you know that too.
Yeah, either way.
Oh my gosh. I literally stood up and had to ask her to stand up and leave my office. She would not leave. She was going to, it was
close you down.
So that made me feel bad anyway. So I bring it to my group, tell them what she was going to do and for how much.
Yeah.
And Billy says, so is it the P&L part that you don't think you know where to find the holes? If you are leaking even or not, like you're just not, well, yeah, kind of. I still don't quite get all that. He said, tell you what, I'll take, you buy me lunch and I'll show you how to do that.
No $50,000 needed.
Like, really? Okay. And then I had Martin too that was saying, I'll show you the other stuff. So literally that day at C12, I saved $50,000.
$50,000.
Paid for my fees for several years, right?
Yeah.
Because of the trust of that council of advisors. But again, I was so green at running the business part.
Yeah.
But I had the right people around me to show me the way. And now, I don't know. Some people think I've gotten pretty good at it.
I just say so. I should say so.
It's a pretty good success story.
Yeah.
In most people's eyes.
Yeah. As you started to bring on employees.
Yeah.
Obviously having like just knowing who you are and your character, your faith, having a good culture. Sure. is crucial to good news success. So talk to me about how you have built over the years, how you've built culture into this team you have.
Man, it's probably, Chris, the thing I'm most proud of currently.
Yeah.
Our current culture has truly set us up to be the employer of choice in the area for anybody who has chosen pest control as a career path.
Right.
That is a Christ follower. Should be working at good news. I mean, they just should be.
Yeah.
And they're starting to figure that out, and people are coming to us that are working in other cultures they love the business. I'm good at what I do.
Right.
Culture, not so much. I've heard great things about yours. And they just, like, I think 10 of the last 12 people we've hired have all been referred into us by somebody that already works for us.
Wow.
And reached out to somebody else they used to work with that knows they're good at this.
Mm-hmm.
They know the business, and they're a believer.
Yeah.
You need to be over here. And like 10 out of 12, we didn't get them from Indeed or Career Builder. You know, we got them from because of our culture, and we're living our faith. We're making business decisions that are biblically based,
mm-hmm.
and they see it and recognize it. They're reaching out to others saying, dude, this is the real deal.
Come join me over here.
Like, you got to be part of this.
How huge is that?
Like, this is it.
It's got to feel good.
It's
right.
It's so good. Yeah. But there was a time, I mean, early on, you know, I was the hub and everybody reported to Dino. You know, it was like the Dino show. It was like everybody, you know, when we had 10 people, right. I didn't have managers. I didn't delegate anything to anybody else. It was just, Dean's the answer guy. Go to Dean. Well, what do we get? Well, ask Dean. Well, ask Dean. Man, that's a lot. Asking Dean was tough. Those were tough days.
Yeah.
So the first time I ever brought in other people that I delegated management authority to, early on, I just went to the best person that I knew.
Yeah.
Not necessarily following Christ at the level that I now have a standard for.
Yeah.
And I literally saw where if somebody isn't committed to the mission that God called me to lead, that anyone that reports under that channel, there's a bottleneck of spiritual flow through that.
Yeah, of course.
You know, we've got 4 or 5 lines we actually flow up our org chart. I'm at the bottom and we support everybody else up. But anyway, up those lines, if there's somebody that's not a committed Christ follower that's leading that line, that line's not going to get much.
Yeah.
and I have made a commitment to the Lord that I won't ever do it again, because I've done it a couple times and seen the difference in the fruit of that vine versus the fruit of these other vines that are being led by Christ followers. So I just have made a commitment that I'm not going to put anyone in that delegated authority unless they're all in.
They got to be all in
our mission.
How many employees now?
We're at 50.
Woo! 50.
Yeah, I say the same thing. 44 trucks, and you know, it's a lot. It's so much more than I ever dreamed it would be.
What did you dream it would be?
$1 million. I mean, hey, John, you know, let's
join
join forces and let's make $1 million company.
Right.
Because the guy before us, who had mentored both of us, sold his company for $1 million. And like, he had built the business for 25 plus years and sold it for $1 million.
And well, in point of fact, though, when did he sell it? In the 90s? So like,
it would have been 91.
$1 million in 91.
Yeah, it's now 3 at least.
Yeah, it's like, exactly. But
that was our goal. I mean, you think we could do it? Like, if we hooked up,
I don't know.
Could we do what our mentor did in 25 years? Could we do it? Well, he had already had 7, but could we do it in 5 more?
Yeah.
And
which is audacious, right? Yeah, for sure.
We're going to do 7 this year.
Come on.
It's blowing my mind, truly.
Yeah.
It really is.
And you can do so much. I know that you do. Like, having success like that and having fulfilled team members who are referring their friends and whatnot, go out into the community and have an impact. So I know the good news is really committed to community impact. Talk to me about what you guys are doing.
Well, one thing we've committed to, what I'll use the word tithe in church words, but to give back at least 10% of our profit to support ministries, both locally and globally, to build God's kingdom.
Yeah.
Directly, just straight, like that money goes to building the kingdom.
Okay.
And so we have about 30 of those that we support regularly or occasionally at least. And then it's interesting. God really showed me the gift of generosity through my grandparents and parents. It was modeled for me, Chris, and I caught it. But for 20 plus years, every time that we gave to support a ministry or something in the community, Dean decided who got it and how much.
Yeah.
And it was generous.